Chris Broussard, we are both loving first round of these NBA playoff series. So, Warriors-Kings tonight is interesting, and I watch a lot of Warrior games. I'm out here in California. I can stay up late for them. And when you watch this team without Draymond, they don't set the screens, they don't pass as well, they lose an elite defender. Now, with Wiggins back, that does give them a very good on-ball defender. Can they beat Sacramento without Draymond Green? There's a reason the Warriors are reportedly livid at the suspension. I think they're looking at I don't know if they can beat Sacramento. What's your gut take on this?
They certainly couldn't beat them in a series, the entire series, without Draymond. But right now, they just need one game. And I think they can do it for one game. I'm most concerned, Colin, about the defense and the rebounding. Because as you said, yeah, Wiggins is a great defender, and he's been good in this series. But now without Draymond, I don't think they're going to be able to really stop Sacramento. So what they're going to have to do is outscore them. I think it's going to be a shootout, and Steph obviously will have a big game. I'm looking for Klay. We know he's had some moments in the past where they needed a win, and he delivered big time. And I'm also looking for Jordan Poole, if he plays, to step up and deliver one of those moments. Because, again, they're going to need scoring, and Poole's going to need to step up.
Yeah, and by the way, their young players generally play at the Chase Center to a higher level. There's a certain energy and the young guys kind of fade on the road. That's why they were such a bad road team this year. But, you know, I talked about this. I threw this out earlier. Are the Warriors, are the Kings the baby Warriors? And let me set it up. At the beginning of the dynasty for Golden State, they had this young guard, very good offensive player, didn't know how to play defense yet. Steph Curry, that's De'Aaron Fox. You had this understated scorer, Klay Thompson, Harrison Barnes, who didn't want any publicity but gave you good scoring. You had a theatrical, tough guy, Sabonis, Draymond, who went to great programs. And at the start, it was Mike Brown and Mark Jackson, defensive coaches. Right? And then you both have Davion Mitchell, good defender off the bench for Sac, Andre Iguodala for Golden State. And I made this argument. And there's a high intellect with both. Analytics upstairs, Daryl Morey's guys. My takeaway is, are we looking at the baby Warriors 8-9 years ago?
Well, look, and I don't think you're doing this. I don't think you're predicting that they're going to win 4 championships. No. But I think you are predicting that they're going to be a contender, a serious contender for the next several years. And I can go along with that because there are some similarities. First, let's start with Mike Brown. The fact that they were so poor defensively this year was stunning because Mike, remember, in Cleveland and Los Angeles, he was a defensive coach. The question was, can he coach offense? And obviously that time in Golden State, the 6 years as an assistant, helped him tremendously. So now he's got a great offensive team. And I'm not surprised that they're actually playing good defense in these playoffs because of Mike Brown. So I think strategically they're there. You mentioned some of the comparisons to the Warriors. How about Sabonis, not only as the agitator, because, you know, look, there's a lot of talk about some of the things he's been getting away with in these 2 games that are very Draymond-like, right? But also, he is their playmaker. He is like Fox. If you watched him during the regular season, Sabonis was often bringing the ball up. He led them in assists. He would orchestrate the offense. He's oftentimes at the foul line in that area and not looking at the basket to shoot. Now, he scores more than Draymond, but he doesn't shoot threes. So there's similarities even in that a lot of times the offense is running through Sabonis like it runs through Draymond in Golden State. So, yeah, I do think there's some similarities. Look, they're better than I thought. They're better than I think most people thought. And they're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the future, no doubt.
Okay, as long as Cameron Payne is not playing, they are perilously thin in Phoenix. They got no bench. And when you put them on the floor juxtaposed with the Clippers, it becomes so evident when you got Norman Powell, Terrence Mann off the bench. The Clippers have all sorts of depth. They need another star. Phoenix doesn't need stars. They need depth. And I've said this. It really exposes watching Phoenix against the Clippers. Chris, it really exposes how thin they are. their margins. I mean, the other night their starter shot 60%, and it was still reasonably close. It was tied at half. I don't know. Like, sometimes they say styles makes fights, right? Styles make fights. When I watch the Suns against the Clippers, I'm like, are they getting out of this series? Do you think they're worried a little bit?
No, they have to be concerned because, one, you also have a legitimate superstar with championship pedigree on the other side, which is Kawhi Leonard. So, I think, Colin, I do think they survived this series. Everything you said about the depth is right. They got to get Cam Payne back at some point soon because Chris Paul cannot play 38 minutes a night.
No.
He won't, even if they win this series. Again, I think they will. He probably would break down at some point in the playoffs if he's got to continue to play 37, 38 minutes a night, which he's done in the first 2 games. But, Colin, I think this is just what the doctor ordered for Phoenix because this is a tough, hellacious series, and they needed this. They have got to go through some adversity together. They had 8 freaking exhibition games in the regular season with Durant and this group. That's not enough. That's why I think game 1 they were shell-shocked because of the level that they were facing in the Clippers. They hadn't faced that together. So now I think this series they're facing a deep team, a tough team, a well-coached team, a team with a legitimate superstar. Westbrook is even more intense than he usually is because he's facing KD. They have to go through this together, face this adversity, learn who you can count on, and have their backs against the wall. It's like a foxhole experience together. And I think, Colin, I look at the phrase that everybody knows, what doesn't kill you will make you stronger. So if they survive this series, I think going into the next round, they will be stronger mentally and emotionally as a group because they've been through something tough together.
Listen, I think Boston's going to waltz through it. Milwaukee showed last night without Tyler Hero. Miami just doesn't have enough buckets. Philadelphia is going to move on. Cleveland Knicks. Okay, so I thought Cleveland would kind of roll through it. Too many offensive guys. But I'll tell you something. And let's take game 2 out. That's the zigzag. New York cannot win with that low of energy and that sloppy. They can't. But now it goes back to New York, and they have home court. Do the Knicks have a shot here?
They do have a shot. I picked Cleveland in 6 like you. I wouldn't have been shocked if the Knicks had won, but I thought Cleveland had the advantage because they're not only a very good offensive team with Mitchell, but a very good defensive team, number 1 in the league. But I think game 3 is going to be telling, Colin, because how does Evan Mobley respond to the Madison Square Garden? Like, it's going to be an atmosphere that is intense. He didn't play well in game 1. That's one reason they lost. And so how's he going to respond? Mitchell will be fine. I think Garland will play well. Allen is good. He's not going to score a ton of points, but he's a very good defender and rebounder, gives you a little points. How do the bench players and Mobley respond offensively in the Garden? Because that's going to be the key. They got to get more out of Mobley if they're going to advance in this series.
All right, Chris Broussard. It's great seeing you, my man. You're doing such a good job. By the way, I can love Ja Morant and Trae Young, but don't think they're complete basketball players. I watched the Grizz last night with Tyus Jones, and I watched that defense, that net rating. Chris, a little immaturity for Ja Morant this year. They're a better defensive team without him. Do you think there's anybody in that building thinking, we get a lot for Ja? We get a lot for Ja.
No.
Okay.
Look, I hear, and I've been listening to you all morning talk about they're better without Ja. Here's the thing, because look, they have won a lot of games over the past couple years without Ja, and they're great defensively, and they're a different type team. But Colin, here's the thing, in the playoffs, you know this. You need a guy that can just go get you a bucket.
All right.
When as the series goes on and the defense knows exactly what we want to run, they know my tendencies, your tendencies. I need a guy that, you know I'm going left, but you still can't stop me. And that's Ja Morant. And so I don't think they're better without him. And I definitely don't think they're thinking about trading.
I know.
The list of calls will be a mile long.
No, wait, by the way, I don't think they're going to move him either. But I like to throw it out there. I like to see how Chris Broussard reacts. I don't think they're moving him. I don't. But I do think it's interesting.
Now, Trae's a different matter.
No, Trae, listen, Quinn Snyder's going to make you play some defense. And by the way, Quinn Snyder had some dysfunction in Utah with Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. So if he senses any dysfunction with Trae Young, he's done with that stuff. He's not going to – I think he's done with that. So, and Trae Young is not as explosive as Ja Morant, but there are some similarities where you stand around staring at Ja Morant and Trae Young, and you're a little better defensive team without those guys. So it's not absurd to think about it, but I do feel like Ja he's got that edge Memphis likes. I think he fits them. Trae Young in Atlanta, I'm not sure. Is that fair?
Yeah, I do think it's absurd to think about trading Ja Morant. but look, I get what you're saying. The difference with Trae and Ja, though, is that they've won with Ja. Yeah, they've won without him, but they've won with him and challenged the champions last year in Golden State in that series. Now, Trae, of course, did get to the conference finals with Atlanta. I don't know that I'd give up on Trae at 24 years old. He is a guy that likes the bright lights. We remember him in New York a few years ago in the playoffs, in the play-in against Miami. Like, he likes the bright lights, which I like, but he's got to learn how to play winning basketball.
Right.
And I do think that's what Quinn Snyder's going to try to institute there, and Trae's got to respond. I wouldn't mind bringing him off the ball and having him run off screens like Steph Curry, and you could put the ball in DeJounte Murray's hands. He's not as good of a shooter as Steph, but he's not a great decision maker, and I think that's part of the problem, a lot of bad shots. So I would listen to calls. I would make calls on Trae, but I wouldn't give him away.
Yeah. No, can't give him away. He's got all sorts of talent. Chris Broussard, first things first. That show is crushing it. And good seeing you, buddy. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.